Hey minions, welcome to Crank It Up. I'm Jim Price, and on this episode of Cull the Week, I want to look at the werewolves and the dinosaurs. I never intended for this to be a series, but our viewers really liked it, so here we are with the second installment. As I've mentioned before, I am a fan of the werewolves, even though most of the community views them as weak. I wanted to find their best comparable, and I chose the dinosaurs because of their many similarities. Both are primarily power focused, both have light destruction mixed in, and both factions prioritize your turn as opposed to being competitive on other players' turns. Like last time, I'll be looking at just the factions in a black box, and not considering the Great Wolf Spirit, the Werewolf Titan. We need to see if there is a reason why the werewolves got a Titan, ignoring how much I love the Wolf Spirit. There were some great matches while others had no comparables, but let's take a look, starting with their minions. Both the War Raptor and the Howler go beyond 2 power. The Howler has more power, capping out at 4, but only on the turn it's played. The War Raptor has a lower ceiling, but a higher floor, as it's consistently 3 or more. This is an easy win for the War Raptor, as I love the Howlers, but drawing a handful of them as your only minions will make the game challenging. On the contrary, I'd be thrilled if I started the game with all of my War Raptors. 2 Raptors equals the output of Howlers, but are much easier to use because you could add them on successive turns, which you cannot do with Howlers. For too many reasons to name, War Raptors win the first point. The next 2 minions are interesting because they are polar opposites. Would you rather have +1 power on your turn or +2 power on other turns? The Armor Stego does have the higher output, but I actually hate this minion. It never fits into the dinosaur strategy other than being hard to kill. The power it contributes on an opponent's turn backfires constantly, and it's never been reliable for me. Also, this card does not combo with any of the dinosaur power boosts which are played on your turn. Teenage Wolf does, however. Since both factions want to break bases on their turn, I'd rather have the 4-powered Teenage Wolf than the 3-powered Armor Stego. This is an easy win for the werewolves. The next grouping is not as straightforward. Both Lasertops and Lugaroo affect the base's power by 2, but they do it in different ways. Lasertops destroys a minion of power 2, which is ostensibly more useful as a player might lose presence on a base or lose an ongoing ability. However, the destruction is mandatory, which may also backfire if you are forced to destroy your own minion. It also doesn't help contribute to breaking the base. In fact, it slows it down by taking away 2 power. Lugaroo doesn't add power, but it doesn't take it away either. The effect may not do anything, but on your turn, it may help you math out a victory and save you from using other cards. This could go either way, but I prefer Lugaroo. It doesn't help Lasertop that he's been replaced, while Lugaroo was cloned. Lugaroo is better at winning on your turn, while also being a better insurance policy on others. An Armor Stego that can't be taken advantage of. But I could see people arguing in favor of Lasertops as it's close. Still, I'm giving the point to werewolves. For the King minions, King Rex wins over Pack Alpha for a number of reasons. In my Pack Alpha video, I argue that it should be used for its printed power, something King Rex does better automatically. It takes a lot of work for Pack Alpha to beat King Rex in terms of power added, while King Rex and Rampage is one of the cleanest intra-faction combos ever. King Rex is just easy to use and more consistent. The more minions you have on Pack Alpha's base, the less you actually need its ability. So point Dinosaurs. At the end of the minion round, we're actually tied. This is a massive improvement over the 4-0 lead the Mad Scientist had on Vampires. Let's look at the actions. Starting off, the 2 factions have fundamentally equivalent cards in Chew Toy and Natural Selection, where the only difference is the chosen wording and the fact that Chew Toy is a double feature. Had they both been double features, this would violate the Double Feature Identity Act, which is a rule I just made up but always believed that no 2 double features should be identical, and whenever possible, no double feature should be objectively worse than another. So this is a tie. Let's look at cards that break that rule. The remaining werewolf double feature is Frenzy, which is objectively worse than Howl. Not only does Frenzy affect less minions, but Howl has one of the strangest loopholes in the game in that it expires at the end of your turn, not the current turn. So if you played Howl on someone else's turn, something that would not be possible for several expansions, it would last longer than Frenzy under the same circumstances. And, crazy as it sounds, there are actual use cases for that, so that makes Howl even better. Point Dinosaurs. We're halfway there, and it's 3-2 Dinosaurs winning with one tie. Let's look at power cards. Augmentation is one of the best pure standard actions in the game, adding 4 power to a minion. Full Moon can eclipse that, but it's hard to do so. Full Moon doesn't require an extra action, however, as it can be played in advance. It also provides power-based protection to your minions while you set up your big play. While this does add to power creep, it can be avoided, and the action that you do play, perhaps Frenzy, can meet or exceed augmentation for the cost of 1 more card. As the Dinosaurs lack extra action plays, they won't be using all of their power cards anyway. However, I like the consistency of augmentation as a pure burst, not adding to power creep. Augmentation can be given to any minion, which has a lot of value on ninja bases, especially that upcoming 5th ninja base. So I have to give this to augmentation, but it's closer than you realize. 4-2 Dinosaurs. Both factions also have mass destruction cards. Let the Dogs Out can erase several minions on the same base, but it requires the right setup. Survival of the Fittest can erase several minions on different bases, but it requires the right setup. Survival of the Fittest doesn't require you to do any of that setup, but it also can backfire as you could be the minion in range. Also, Survival of the Fittest doesn't really play into the dinosaur strategy as they should not spread out. Quite the opposite, they should be fast and furious, targeting single bases at a time, unless they have many War Raptors, which should still be on the same base. Let the Dogs Out, however, plays perfectly into the Werewolf strategy, as it can set up some solo bases with marking territory. It's also easier to ensure that you get at least 1 destruction, and you are in total control of the setup. So Werewolves get the point, 4-3. Next we have 2 defensive cards in Tooth and Claw and Guns versus Unstoppable. Do you want a one-time defense against any ability, or permanent invulnerability to destruction? Tooth and Claw and Guns is, in my opinion, the most confusing, misworded card in Smash Up, and there's a very real chance it will be the action awareness video for Dinosaurs, so I'm hesitant to waste my ideas for that video. Let's just say that it doesn't work like it should, even after the errata, and I'd rather take permanent destruction prevention. There are very few cards that affect the minion other than destruction, most of which are movement. So I'm giving the point to Werewolves, and we're tied at 4. Speaking of play on minion actions, let's compare Upgrade and Moon Touched. Yes, their abilities are different, but both actions can be played on any minion, not just your own, and provide an ongoing benefit. Would you rather have +2 power or draw a card every turn? This isn't a straight comparison, but I'd much rather draw a card every turn, as the Dinosaurs suffer extremely because they lack card draw. Everyone can use card draw. They don't really need that extra 2 power, which can be disenchanted anyway, and you get nothing for it. However, once I draw a card, it's mine and it's hard to get rid of, and this can help me win several bases, whereas Upgrade only helps me win 1. This is despite all the fact that Moon Touched isn't guaranteed to provide any value, but I still like it more. So I give the point easily to Moon Touched, and if we were factoring in the Titan, it wouldn't even be close, as drawing 2 cards a turn is insanely good. Now the Werewolves are leading 5-4. Now, let's look at 2 cards that have nothing to do with each other. There were no other options. Wildlife Preserve prevents your minion on that base from being affected by other players' actions, which is a really good ability. Leader of the Pack lets you play an extra action each turn, and like Moon Touched, it isn't guaranteed to work. However, the chance to play an extra action every turn is too good to pass up, and the counters are easily avoided. The Dinosaurs would love the extra action play, but the Werewolves got it, and it combines so well with their combos, again with marking territory, as you can rip multiple players off a base and get it easily by yourself. Werewolves 6-4. Which brings us to the last 2 cards, Rampage and Marking Territory, the 2 breakpoint actions. This is really hard, as I've said at least once that Marking Territory is one of my favorite cards, and not in a way like some in Wolves, but in an actually good way. However, I can't be biased and I have to think objectively. Marking territory can give you a base by yourself or let you win a base easily. It requires some setup, but the reward is amazing. You can win a base in 2 turns if you have the right cards. Rampage also requires setup, but it lets you steal a base if played correctly. And while both cards fit into their factions perfectly, I think Rampage is the more consistent of the two. It's easier to math out on this specific turn whether you have enough and just go for the kill instead of taking a chance. It won't have the upside of marking territory, but there is a real chance marking territory will just attract attention and never fire. Rampage is guaranteed to break the base when used correctly, and the combo of King Rex and Rampage is just too good to overlook. As much as it pains me, I'd have to draft Rampage before marking territory just because it's safer, but it's really close as marking territory provides so much value. Still, Dinosaurs get the point, and we're finished at 6-5-1. Given that a card or two could go either way, these factions suddenly look like equals. Both have cards that are close to each other, and both have cards that are easy wins. Yet the Werewolves got the Titan and the lack of love from the community, whereas, on my possibly flawed scientific scale, Werewolves have better cards than Dinosaurs. So what does this mean to you? Are the Werewolves better than you thought at first, or are the Dinosaurs worse than they appear? Should the Dinosaurs get the Titan instead? Are there any cards that you would have compared differently? Let me know about this in the comments, and also let me know what factions you'd like to see in this series. I like seeing the suggestions, but I can't guarantee that I can use them, as it's easier when the factions have moderate to significant overlap. I also want to wish everyone a happy Halloween for those who celebrate. Be sure to check out Crank It Up's Facebook page in the description for a special trick-or-treat preview of the next expansion. Thanks for watching, be sure to like and subscribe, let's shut it down.